Most of the white flour sitting in American pantries right now has been bleached with a chemical cousin of the stuff you pour into a swimming pool. That is not a metaphor. That is not hyperbole. That is the label, written in plain, government-approved English, printed right there on the side of the bag you bought last Tuesday. Flip it over, read the fine print, and the truth is, sitting in black and white under the words contains bleached flour. Americans spend roughly $6 billion a year on flour. $6 billion. And for that money, the largest mills in the country hand us back a cosmetically white powder, stripped of its germ, chemically whitened for shelf appeal, and then dusted with synthetic vitamins to replace the nutrients they deliberately destroyed an hour earlier on the same production line. It is the oldest sleight of hand in the food industry, and about 90% of shoppers fall for it every single week without ever realizing it. Stick around, because one of it. The brands on today's winner list sells real, stone-ground, unbleached flour for less per pound than the bleached industrial stuff sitting right next to it on the shelf. I spent 3 weeks auditing every flour bag I could find, reading every label, cross-checking every ingredient, and the results were not what I expected. Here is what a wheat kernel actually contains. 3 parts: the bran, which is the fibrous outer shell, the germ, which is the living embryo of the plant packed with oils, vitamin E, and B vitamins, and the endosperm, which is mostly pure starch. Nature spent roughly 10,000 years designing this package. The flour industry spent about 100 years figuring out how to tear it apart and sell you the cheapest piece back at a premium. Industrial roller milling, perfected in the 1870s, crushes the kernel between high-speed steel rollers and sifts out the bran and germ in a matter of seconds. Why bother? Because the germ contains natural oils, and oils go rancid in about 2 to 3 weeks. A rancid product cannot sit in a Walmart warehouse for 18 months. So the germ gets removed, sold off as cheap animal feed, and what remains is shelf-stable white starch with a shelf life longer than most marriages. But freshly milled starch is slightly yellow. American consumers want paper white, so the mills add benzoyl peroxide for all-purpose flour, or chlorine gas for cake flour, to strip the color and artificially age the gluten. Then comes the legal magic trick. Federal law lets them add back 5 synthetic nutrients. Each get iron, thiamine, riboflavin, niacin, and folic acid, and stamp the word enriched on the front of the package. Enriched. The word literally means they made it richer than before. In reality, it means they robbed more than 20 nutrients and paid 5 of them back in synthetic form. The math is brutally simple. Real stone ground flour takes slow grinding, fresh local wheat, and accepts a 6-week shelf life. That costs real money. Industrial milling takes seconds, lasts 2 years, and costs pennies per pound. Guess which one ends up in the blue bag with the smiling mascot? The Skipless brand number 1. Gold Medal, owned by General Mills, is the single best-selling flour brand in America. It is also the subject of multiple E. coli O121 recalls, including major ones in 2016, 2019, and 2023. Flip the bag, and you will read the words bleached enriched flour right at the top of the ingredient list. Those 2 words tell you everything. The wheat was crushed, stripped, chemically whitened with benzoyl peroxide, and then injected with synthetic iron and folic acid in a separate step down the line. The marketing says trusted since 1880. The ingredient list tells a very different story. You are not buying heritage. You are buying a $200 billion corporation's cheapest commodity product dressed up in a vintage label. Brand number 2, Pillsbury Best, also a General Mills product. Same industrial mills, same bleaching process, same enrichment scheme, sometimes literally the same wheat shipment. Pillsbury Best markets itself as America's favorite flour, but the only thing distinguishing it from Gold Medal is the Doughboy on the package and a slightly different price point. It is a logistical magic trick. The same commodity wheat, rebranded twice, sold at 2 price points to capture 2 different shoppers. You are paying a premium for a cartoon mascot and some nostalgia. Read the ingredients side by side. The flour is identical. The only thing different is the art department. Brand number 3, White Lily All-Purpose, the sacred flour of Southern biscuit bakers. For generations, grandmothers in Tennessee and Georgia swore by it. Here is the uncomfortable truth. White Lily's famous light, airy texture comes directly from chlorine gas. Bleaching, a process that weakens gluten, strips color, and artificially ages the flour in about 30 seconds. Your grandmother's fluffy biscuits were fluffy because the flour was chemically damaged before she ever scooped it. Now owned by the J.M. Smucker Company, it is still bleached, still enriched, still industrially milled. Heritage marketing, modern chemistry. It is a beautiful story wrapped around a laboratory process. Brand number 4, great value, Walmart. The cheapest flour on the shelf is cheap for a reason. Great value is a private label product, meaning Walmart does not mill it themselves. They source it from whichever commodity mill offers the lowest bid that quarter. Bleached, enriched. No transparency about origin, wheat variety, growing region, or even which mill produced it. The bag you bought in January and the bag you bought in June might come from 2 different states, 2 different mills, and 2 different quality standards. You are not buying flour. You are buying the lowest possible cost per pound of white powder and paying for that savings with quality control you will never see and can never verify. Brand number 5, Robin Hood, all-purpose. That folksy green label with the medieval archer has been selling bleached enriched flour for decades. Same roller milled commodity wheat, same benzoyl peroxide bleach, same 5 synthetic nutrients sprayed on at the end of the line. The branding suggests a quaint mill somewhere in Sherwood Forest, tended by a jolly miller with flour on his apron. The reality is a stainless steel industrial facility in the middle of nowhere that could be milling anything from wheat to drywall filler on a given Tuesday. Read the first 3 ingredients on the back enough. That is all the proof you need to know the archer on the front is working for the wrong side. Go to your pantry right now, pull out your flour bag. I'm going to give you 3 tests that take less than 30 seconds each, and they will tell you exactly what you have been baking with. Test 1, the color test. Pour a small amount onto a clean white plate and look at it in natural light. Real unbleached flour is cream colored, slightly off-white, with a faint yellow or ivory tint, because wheat is not naturally white. If your flour is as white as printer paper, it has been chemically bleached. Period. Full stop. There is no natural milling process on earth that produces paper white wheat flour. Test 2, the smell test. Open the bag and put your nose right in it. Real whole wheat flour smells sweet, nutty, grassy, almost like fresh hay on a summer afternoon. If your whole wheat flour smells like absolutely nothing, the germ has been removed and the bran reconstituted, meaning the real nutrition is already gone before you even opened it. Test 3, the first 3 ingredients test. Look at the label. If ingredient number 1 is enriched bleached wheat flour followed by niacin, reduced iron, thiamine mononitrate, riboflavin, folic acid, you are holding a chemistry experiment, not a food. Real flour has 1 ingredient, flour, sometimes 2, if they add malted barley for baking performance. That is it. If your bag fails all 3 tests, it does not mean you are a bad cook or a bad shopper. It means you were lied to by a label that was engineered in a corporate office to make you feel safe. The real list brands. Number 1, King Arthur Baking Company. Founded in 1790, King Arthur is the oldest flour company in America, and today it is 100% employee-owned and a certified B Corporation. Their entire line is never bleached, never bromated. No benzoyl peroxide, no potassium bromate, no azotocarbonamide, full stop. Their all-purpose flour runs around $5 for a 5-pound bag, which is honestly only about $1 more than gold medal at most grocery stores, and often the same price when it goes on sale. This is the value play of the episode. Same price tier, completely different product, 0 compromise on quality. If you change nothing else after watching this video, change this one thing. Brand number 2, Bob's Red Mill. Bob Moore gave his entire company to his employees before he died, and that one decision tells you everything you need to know about the culture of the place. Bob's Red Mill grinds grain on actual quartz millstones, the slow, old-fashioned way, which preserves the germ and the bran together in the final product. Their whole wheat flour is real whole wheat, meaning it will go rancid in a few months if you leave it sitting on the counter, which is exactly what real food is supposed to do. Store it in the freezer. That is the trade-off of eating something that was actually alive when it went into the bag. Brand number 3, Cairn Spring Mills. This is the investigative find of the episode, and the one almost no one has heard of. Cairn Spring Mills, based in Washington State, freshly mills heritage and regional wheat. Varieties on demand, in small batches, and ships within days of milling. They work directly with named farmers, track every single batch back to the field it was grown in, and publish the wheat variety on the bag. Their flour has a flavor you did not know we could have. Sweet, slightly grassy, almost fruity on the finish. Yes, it costs more. Expect to pay around $8 to $10 for a 2-pound bag, but you are buying something closer to small batch wine than to drywall filler, and once you bake with it, everything else tastes like cardboard. Brand number 4, Arrowhead Mills. Founded in 1960 in the Texas Panhandle by a man named Frank Ford, who believed organic farming was a way of life, not a marketing angle. Arrowhead Mills offers stone ground, certified organic, non-GMO flour at a price point that sits just above the industrial brands, usually around $6 to $7 for a 5-pound bag. No bleaching, no bromate, no synthetic enrichment. It is the quiet, consistent, boring in the best way choice. More than 60 years of doing it right while the rest of the industry raced to the bottom. So here's the takeaway. Your health is not a commodity for these corporations to optimize, and your kitchen is not a dumping ground for the cheapest possible industrial byproducts dressed up with cartoon mascots. Every time you buy a bag of bleached, enriched, bromated flour, you are subsidizing an industry that spent 100 years figuring out how to sell you less food for more money. The good news, the real stuff is still out there. Sometimes it costs the same. Sometimes it actually costs less. You just have to know where to look and what to read. The flour aisle will never look the same to you again. Neither will any loaf of bread, cake, or cookie made from what you find there. Subscribe to Tasted and Tested for more investigations, because you have the right to know what is actually in your kitchen.